Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science and Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about Dune Part 2. So let's dive deep into it. So Dune Part 2, well, what is it? Well, reality is Dune 1, basically Dune book. It's a huge book. It's a grand book, meaning if you try to depict everything what happens in one movie, yeah, it's not going to be good. So they took a very clever approach. The approach was very simple. Dune Part 1 would be a stage setup. Basically, you're setting up the scene. Part 2 would be the conclusion. So that's how it's done. Now, Dune 1 was a success, and they had to create a scenario where Dune 2 exceeds it in every measure, which it did surprisingly. So box office has spoken. Dune Part 1 made some money. Dune Part 2 is printing money. So this is good. Now be mindful, this is conclusion of the chapter book 1. There you have to understand there is a bit of disconnect. Basically what Frank Herbert wrote and people read it, it was like awesome and all that, but there was a misunderstanding. The misunderstanding was it's against Messiah story. Basically they wanted to make sure that saviors are bad for you. Basically he always had a funny line of saying it. It's like, savior, charismatic leader should come with a warning, injurious to health. So he wanted to show that, but people kind of got lost, got charmed by Paul Atreides, so to say. So he wrote another thing, Dune Messiah, in order to clear things up. Even though there is more than enough evidence, it's just that, you kind of get carried away, which ironically is the main theme. So this is why there is some bit of difference here. So it must have a satisfying end, because that was the genuinely weird part about Dune Part 1. And I really feel like they were like shooting it, and the maneuver is like awesome, cut it. It's like movie just like a it's like, what the hell? There is no continuity. Now it kind of makes sense because you can actually stitch this movie with that movie. It will look like a smooth transition, so to say. So I get it. Budget was a bit bigger, around 20 million more, which mind you actually is more or less the same, simply because not because of inflation, because of pandemic and all that. So Dune Part 2 happened and it worked. Like this puppy, like after so long I am seeing actual discussion about a movie. Like this is so rare. Like we used to have this back in the first Avenger movie. Then Endgame happened. Endgame was the last time where I saw this sort of whoa, and then it's just like one after another is like, bleh. This was like whoa. So it was truly grand. Imagine seeing this puppy in IMAX. I did. It was huge. So it was good. So let's understand some thematic construction of it. Well, sandworm. Now, how the heck you gonna get a sandworm? Well, you make it. You utilize what we call a motion platform, 6 degrees of freedom, meaning take like this. So you can move in all of these three, and then you can also rotate in all of these. So 6 degrees of freedom. So they have that. So when anytime you see a plane shot from outside and it's physically shaking too much, and generally it's done in this sort of rig. It's a common thing. So what they did, they built a huge one. Now again, behind the scenes is not easily available yet. So I cannot show you, but like apparently Denis, when he's talking about it's huge platform, like as in 6 meter by 6 meter kind of huge platform. So, and they had a lot of fan blowing dust. Now here's the deal. This scene is very important for the story. Now many times we kind of neglect story, but you have to understand this. Acting is like a brick. Music is like a brick. What binds all of this together is the story. Story is the cement that goes between the bricks. So if you do not have good coherent story, it does not stick well. So here the story is very thematically relevant to, as in like the chapters, the characters. It's translating a very good source. So that's the good part, but you have to do service to it. You cannot just like, oh, I feel this scene should be important. No, what is important in the book? Like this is important scene. Why? Like you can watch in the movie also. Shia who decides whether you become a Freeman or you poof. So it is an important scene. So they put a lot of effort, resources in order to make this scene more thematic, more oomph. And they succeeded because it is important in the story. They actually spent, if I'm not mistaken, few months to get this puppy done. And the platform was there. And anytime when you're seeing like it feels like camera is rotating. Yeah, it's actually doing that. That was the benefit of this. And because there was actual wind blowing, you are actually getting all of this. And it feels real. Why does it feel real? It's really happening. Of course, let this be very clear. If they had like 1 ton of sand flowing there, with CG, they would have added butter masala to it and they would have made it 3 tons or 5 tons. But you get the point. Like there is enough there that CGI was used to enhance it. And that's why it feels. There are certain scenes where you feel like, whoa. And I watched this in theater. I was like, whoa. So why the heck that happened? Because they actually put the effort into it. They put actual dust, actual motion, physical motion, and all of that turning motion. You can actually feel it because again, it's physically happening. So it's just a camera documenting it from your point of view. It looks whoa. It works. And now on top of that, how the heck you get the sound of it? Because sound is 50% of it. This is how I know like Marvels looks there, where this looks awesome. It's simply because they actually travel to the deserts and captured sounds. Now here's the deal. If you been researching sand for your life, you may have heard there is something known as singing sand. How sands are basically rolling over itself creates a sound, and sometimes certain dunes create a certain resonance chamber, so it vibrates very differently. They actually travel to different deserts to collect different sound samples to create a conglomeration where a true mix was created, and that's how they got that whoa feeling. You do not feel it, you enjoy it. You're just like whoa. It's not there. It's not. You're not supposed to listen to the sound. You're just supposed to be in the scene, and you can pay attention to like how he taps on the top of the dune, then he taps on the bottom part. It's really happens in real life. It happens, of course, not that dramatic difference, but it's there. That's what I said. Like if you have a clean source amplifying it, awesome. You're just going hulululu with the CGI, yeah, it's not going to be good. So Sandworm, they put so much effort on the sound stage, on physically building a stage, physically moving the damn thing. All of this paid off. So when this scene happens, and when you see Fuhrman jumping from joy, you kind of understand it. The scene flows through you. Like IMAX has this tagline, watch a movie or be in the movie. So you be a part of it. Then we come to the Giedi Prime. This scene was talked about like, whoa, it looks so alien. So here's the thematically, what is the story here? Story is the world is cruel. Now here's the when you are talking about a book as a medium, you have the luxury to write 3 pages essays on it, heck, print another book just for that, tidbit and make it a whole book. People have done that. So here they had to show it in a thematically in visual form. It would not work if you are just making a description of it. So how would they show? Because what is the essence of it? Essence is it's polluted and industrial. So how would you show it? And be mindful, they already have one harsh world. You have Arrakis. So if you're like, okay, we're gonna show white sky which is harsh and all that, yeah, you already have Arrakis there, so it will not flow differently. So how would they do that? Well, they created a magic sun that emits infrared. Now here's the deal. If you studied anything about science, you know every star emits infrared. It's just that some stars are cooler, some are brighter. Now will this happen in real life? Hell no. Because it's still, if human eye are seeing it, right, like your eyes cannot see infrared. Human eye, like they had to be physically a different alien, cannot be human, they had to be different alien, only then it would have made sense, but it's not. So what happens is like they took a creative liberty that this sun wipes out color, and that's how it feels so alien. Now here's the deal. Black and white is not a magical thing. Kill Bill have been using this. It's not a magical thing. How would they make it this sort of whoa feeling? They used infrared footage. Now, infrared has been used more and more because if you know about silicon transistors, that actual CMOS, it is actually sensitive to IR. Our rods gone and those cells are not sensitive. However, the CMOS is physically sensitive to basically IR. So what we do, we put a IR cut filter. If you remove it, especially doable in high-end cinema camera, you can actually get the full IR. Now, of course, it won't be like a true deep IR, not a James Webb telescope, but you can go very deep into IR. So benefit of that is they actually remove it. Now your skin behaves differently. Again, animal vision that are in IR is completely different to us. There are leaves that look plain and bland to you and me, but anybody looking in ultraviolet, they will see patterns. It's like, what the hell? That's the whole point. That's what they were aiming for here. Using IR, they actually got a different skin tone. They actually got the teeth difference, eye different. It's physically different. You cannot just say, what if I do CG? Yeah, you can try it, but it will look bland. Having that actual footage from a cinema grade camera is like, now we are talking. And again, they put a lot of effort into costume design, meaning all the costumes would look different when you are actually seeing it. It will look different when you're seeing the footage. Why? Because that's what IR works. That's the exact same thing. That's why Benazir's sister dress changes color when she's going from inside to outdoor. It changes, the color changes. IR does that. Again, somebody put effort into it, like from costume design, a lot of effort was put into this. And that's why it looks like so eerie. So it's like, whoa, whoa. So Giedi Prime, they put so much effort into it. And be mindful, once you give a clean template, once you're like, this is how it's supposed to look, you give that template to a CG artist, then they can extend your set without any issue. So Giedi Prime, that's how they got that eerie feeling, alien feeling. Now we come to another artistic side of it, modifications. Now I have seen way too many recent examples, specifically let's say movies made after 2018, I would say, is that modifying the source became a thing, subverting expectation. But here's the thing. If you study the source, whatever the source may be, maybe a previous movies, maybe a documentary, maybe a novel, whatever, if you study the source, then you truly understand what's written in between the line. For him, Denis Villeneuve, because he inherently understood that this book is a warning against messiah figures. So when he was adapting the basically book content to the medium, he can change it. Why? Because he actually understands what the writer was intending to say. So benefit of that, he can change it without messing up the flow, without messing up what is the inherent message to it. And when you can truly study it, truly adapt it, you can adapt and change while keeping the core feeling alive. People are paying you for the feeling, because here's the deal. Can you write a different story? Absolutely. Go YOLO on it, but call it different things. So if you take Snow White has a core essence to it. Now, if you're like, what if we blah, 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 it's like, call it blah, blah, blah. Don't call it Snow White because you changed it. And again, people have changed, always changes, but here's the deal. You can easily tell the core is intact, the core is destroyed. So like for example, Star Wars, the Force Awakens was like, okay, it's a cheap, but like, okay. Then the Last Jedi happens, and it's like they destroyed the core. So that's the same thing. So once you destroy the core, you cannot rebuild it. Same goes with basically Lord of the Rings happens, like that trilogy. They stretched a tiny book into like freaking God long. How long was that? The Hobbit series. Ooh. So same thing. If you read between the lines, then you understand the core essence of it. Like Witcher is also suffering from this. It's like the showrunners physically have not read the book. I'm like, how, what? It has happened way too many times in recent times, where it's like people are like, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna, it's my interpretation. Is deal. If you're creating a new interpretation, it becomes a new work. You have to have the balls to say this is new work. Because if you do not have that, all you are doing is pissing people off. Hey, I came to saw Witcher and you just like lol. You just lolled me. So that's why it matters. You can make modifications as long as you understand, you study the source material. You cannot be like, oh, I can make a Song of Ice and Fire into a TV show. I'm awesome. It's like, no, you have a good source. Now you're extracting it and you're getting good show. Once the source depletes, you're dead. Remember the last seasons? Yeah. So it's like trying to extract from an extract. It was horrible because there was not enough meat in the bones. So that's why it matters. If you want to change it, like let's say you want to, there was a very good game. Those of us who know about Hindu mythology, we understand the story of Pandavas and all that. Same sort of story, but they changed it. Asura's Wrath. It was a different kind of game, boxing kind of game, but it has same essence. But they have the balls to say, hey, we changed it. It's a different story. Asura's Wrath. The end. It's not Pandavas. It's not Mahabharata. I respect it. And nobody complained about it. But if you take the same Mahabharata and then change it and then call it the same thing, and then there's people like, wait, you changed it. It's like, see. So you must respect the source, then audience will respect you. Whatever the source may be, it could be a novel, it could be a core essence that you are remaking. As long as you respect the source, people can tell. Like for example, Chani in the original book, she was a love interest. In the new remake, she is far more in-depth character. Why? Because again, he studied it. The essence is Freeman culture is very balanced. Male and female have to do exactly the same thing. It's too brutal without it. So okay, cool, awesome. How would you show it? Because yes, you do not have the time. Again, in the books, they did not have enough time to play out in a female character. So it was like, how would you do it in cinema? You add female friends. You make sure Chani becomes a more important character where she actually fights, where she actually goes against Paul. So there is a character dynamic. It's like, okay, he's actually extracting, enhancing. Okay, I get it what you wanted to say. Let me show it in the theater. And then that's why nobody is complaining about this. Like, it makes sense. That's how it will happen. He took the work and he's like, okay, I got you, fam. I'm going to respect it. I'm going to enhance it. And people are like, whoa. Basically, keep your agenda away. Now, many times people will say, this looks funny. It's like, as it is written. Now, here's the, that's exactly how fanaticism work. That's exactly how religious things can get out of hand. We have history books filled with bloodbath because of this. Literally, they wanted to show it. And why they wanted to show it a bit of a comedic way? Because it always starts as harmless. Then it revolves into something bad. So that was the idea. So the idea essence is being transferred here, where it's like he's actually improving the core essence, where it's like at the end of the movie, you should be scared of Wal Muad'Dib. You should not be like, yo bro, you go man. It's like, that's the whole thing. So you can modify your source material as long as you respect it, as long as you study it, as long as you go from brick by brick, day by day. People are like, got you. But if you're like, what if I just subvert expectation because if yeah, no. So this is the how modification can be done properly, and nobody will complain about it, and you will make a lot of money. So this was my presentation on Dune Part 2. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.